I've not done any spoken videos in a bit, so I'm going to go ahead and explain a bunch of stuff and also just in general talking about the work that I have completed today. For today, I've been working mainly on like reworking stuff, not necessarily creating anything new, as well as fixing a few things. For one, I was looking around on others' forums and other YouTube videos and such, and I come to the conclusion that the way that I was going about my studs wasn't exactly the best way to go about things because I had each stud be their own individual child class of the parent of Lego stud. And while initially I thought that was good and it was working well for what I needed it to be, for example, like if I wanted to do the spline trace systems and such, there did begin its own problems of if I wanted to do a destruction, like spawning the other objects and such. So I went ahead and, after looking around and such, I found some tips here and there on regards to how I can go about changing such. And of course, I'll try linking down in the post about what I did. So the Lego stud. We have, thanks to a forum post that I will share, um, I found it a better way to sort out the stud issue for spinning and such. Initially, I had it be a begin looping event of just spinning the stud, which, while worked, wasn't exactly a good way to go about things. But eventually I changed things around so that now the stud is just the base like root. But then I added in two things, the rotating movement and the projectile movement. Now I didn't know about the rotating movement until I found it out. So that is why it didn't exist before. But now it does. Same with the projectile movement. Now, another big thing is that initially, when I was going about sorting the spinning and such, of course, there was problems with if I wanted to do things like simulating physics while spinning. But if I did that, for example, it would go ahead and they wouldn't move, except those ones that weren't simulating physics, of course. But thanks to the projectile movement, I'm able to give those physics while also being able to, of course, spin. I could show that by building this, which I'll also explain. So, another big thing is that we have changed some things around with the stud values because, of course, they're not children anymore. I went ahead and I worked out how enums work. And I was able to create a simple link for changing the materials based around that enum variables that you see here. And of course, each one being like that. In a post that I saw, I saw that theirs was more based around setting color, but I didn't like that way of going about things because each material's color would have multiple colors essentially. If I go onto the studs right now, we can see here that there are actually three main things to go for: diffuse, specular, and emissive. But of course, if you go onto the children classes, they'd be their own things. So I wouldn't just be able to just do color. That's why I did it based around just material. Again, I will try like commenting on these as best as I can, but also we have this here. So to fix that simulation thing was down to the projectile movement simulation enabled boolean here. With this enabled, I'm able to make these objects follow physics while also still following the like usual way of going about things. And to sort them out again, to make sure that they either are or aren't following physics, I have a simple Boolean check here. And of course, we still have the collision stuff, except now we've changed it so that it just grabs the select of that, and each value goes ahead and gets added into the whole area. The pressure plate is another one to really note down because I've been commenting on this one a bit more now. I won't explain too much just yet about this, but I'll explain the new thing, which is here. So originally I had it so that it would spawn on a loop system, like a simple old adding plus until each time you get the amount that you need. But that way wasn't great and it featured many issues. Like for instance, I also didn't know how to deal with the whole swapping based around what type of studs to spawn. So I went ahead and I changed it around to being a spawn a stud spawner, which I'll go ahead and I'll explain in a moment, but it calls the event within that with a own variable in here for stud type. Now the reason why I have this I'll explain in a moment, but if we go into that actual class now, I can actually explain it. So how this works is we have a simple scene for getting location and the event of spawn, but with an integer of stud types, of course. And of course, for looping this system, I just made a simple for loop, but made it a maximum of 5, so that it spawns about like 5 or 6 studs. I can, of course, change that in the future, but for now, that's all that's needed. But anyway, it goes ahead and spawns the studs, simulates them, and then calls the init class. Except now, of course, stud worth isn't just going to be the stud worth from the beginning. It's going to be the stud worth from whatever we set it to. And of course, what it is set to is it's a select thing. It's a select based around a random integer so that it will go ahead and each time this spawns, it will grab a random one of these 4 and spawn one of them. But the reason why I have this max linked here is so that I can specify up to what type of one. For example, I could set the like its instance editable here. So if I set this, for example, to like 4, it means now that it could spawn one of the 4 different types of studs. Like there, spawned in the blue ones as well now. But of course, keeping it normal, I can just set it to 2, and they shouldn't spawn the blue ones or purple ones, of course. They should just spawn the gold and the silver ones. Which again, is shown there. And then of course we have the projectile movement so that they can spawn with a launch velocity based around a random unit vector, which is also based around a random unit vector in cone degrees, which as far as I have looked into seems to just be a simple random rotator for which direction it should spawn. Of course, I'll go ahead and look into this a lot more, and I will then comment on a lot of this to explain things further. And of course, we have the like I mentioned, the companion cube is also the same thing. Which, yes, I do need to comment on this one too. Anyway, so what we have now is we have these pressure plate that we've actually linked towards an object, which is, for now is just going to be this door actor. So whenever we are around it doesn't work. But of course, once we build it, and do excuse the frame rate, that's just my PC. Anyway, so when it's built, if we stand on it, it goes ahead and it activates, as you see on the top right. Once we let go, it deactivates. But if we go ahead and build this, we can make it activate based on that as well. Of course, it's not, some things aren't entirely perfect, like as you just saw, if studs are spawning on top of the cube, if you pick up the cube, studs tend to not follow the physics correctly. So I need to find a way to adjust that. Which I'm unsure exactly how just yet, but again, I'll look into things. And then, of course, we have the simple old levers. And these studs are here just for testing purposes to see what it's like if I individually do set them by their worth. And then, of course, we have the line tracer, which I should hopefully be able to adjust in the future so that it could spawn multiple types of studs rather than just the one. But again, that's not important for me just yet, but it's there. And of course, as you can see in the top left, the value and all that still is the same stuff as before. Nothing seems to be broken. So yeah, that's all. It's just an optimization day, mainly because today is also the beginning of me getting the simple prototype build ready for my formative. And of course, I'll create a level for whatever I have right now, and then I'll also go ahead and create questionnaires and such, and I'll update on that. I will then also go ahead and begin work a lot more on my documents now, because I think I'm in a roughly safe spot for my game. I just need to work on a few extra things. I'm going to go ahead and do a lot more research by playing the games, showcasing videos that I've been recording, and create diagrams and such for the document as well. But once that's done, I have a Trello that's being updated as I develop. New ideas tend to come around and such, and I just need to make sure that I get the essentials sorted out. But of course, new problems arise whenever I do sort out something, so the list keeps growing. But as for that, that's all. There is one main bug right now, and it's why my build may not feature the main menu just yet. Currently, in the main menu, we have a we have got a whole spawn system and such if we needed to. I just need to sort out the player choice option, but also the start game option, because right now nothing happens. So I need to go ahead and adjust how the start game feature works, because right now it doesn't actually start anything. I'll see if I can get that sorted out before the formative build, but again, I'm unsure. So that should be all for this video, this progress. And again, I'll update whenever I've got the play tests and such sorted out, and I'll of course update my documents whenever needed.